Hey everyone, welcome back to Stand By Go, a theater podcast out of Asheville, North Carolina. I'm John O'Neill, and today I sat down with Faith Creech, who is somebody that I did Wizard of Oz with a few months ago, and somebody who has turned into be a great friend of mine since July of last year. We talk about theater and our background in it and the future and our time together, and some of the big roles that Faith has played and how they have played a part in her life. So I hope you all enjoy listening and watching as much as I did having this interview with her. Enjoy the interview. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Stand By Go. I am here with Faith Creech. Faith, wave to everybody. Say hello to everybody out in Stand By Go world.
Hello, how you doing?
Thanks so much for being here, and just for everybody to know that this podcast is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Android Podcasts, and hopefully for the first time will be on YouTube. Faith and I are doing a Zoom meeting that will hopefully be uploaded into YouTube. Cross our fingers that I am good enough to do this. So as we go through, there may be some crazy things that happen video-wise or audio-wise, and let's just have some fun. Right now, the world is going crazy. We are going crazy. I haven't left my apartment in like a month except to go get food. I did the math the other day, Faith, and I haven't hugged another human being in over a month. And that's huge. So
I'll be the first.
We'll see. Because it may just be the first person I see, whether I know them or not.
Whether you know them or not.
Like, right? So,
yeah, you're just longing.
Yeah, so how are you doing right now during this crazy quarantine time?
I'm good, actually. I'm managing. You think I wouldn't be doing as well in school, but it's actually been a lot easier than I thought it was going to. I'm able to focus.
Yeah, how is school going right now online?
It's definitely different. It's different for everybody. It's easier for me, but for others, I know they're struggling, and others just, I'm like, I'm not going to do it. It's fine. There's no point. But for the most part, I think communication is the hardest thing.
Yeah.
With my teachers, but
yeah,
we're managing.
Are your teachers doing a pretty good job of like adjusting from being in the classroom to being online?
Some are and some aren't. Some are giving us a lot of work and treating it the same, and then others just are barely giving us anything.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's crazy. So Faith, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself? Not so much in the theater world, we'll get to that in a little bit, but just like where you're born, where you grew up, what's happening nowadays.
Okay. Well, I was born May 29th, 2004, in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, and lived there for most of my life, for about 12 years, and then moved here to Burnsville, North Carolina, because my dad got offered a job in Asheville to do social working. And now, like almost 4 years later, I've been doing theater for a while. I have two older brothers, so I'm the only girl in the family. It's just me and my mom. So that's interesting.
This is the opposite of my family because I have two older sisters.
And you're the youngest.
And I'm the baby.
Youngest boy. Yeah.
Only boy. I was the only boy of my cousins too.
Really?
Yeah. So they all had to marry in and have babies and have sons.
I don't have many cousins. Actually, my dad's adopted, so that's cool.
Yeah. And so let's talk a little bit about how we met. The first time we met was I saw you on stage at Asheville Community Theater as little Anne Frank.
Yeah, you were Grace's friend, and I met you after
Grace Duran was also in the show. She is the reason why I came to see it. She and the lighting designer, Brian Marks. I came to see both of their work, and I was blown away by the set. The set was amazing. The lighting was amazing. And I was blown away by the star of the show. Could not believe that you were, 13 at the time?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, I was 13.
I was, I had to keep asking people, like, is she really only 13? She was really, really good. And then about that I came to Friends and Family Night, so, and you all did a 3-week run, and then like a
Yes.
week later, your cast went to see something at Montford. I don't remember what it was,
I don't either. I
and
just remember seeing you.
I just happened to
In the
also
audience.
go to that show at Montford, and I
Mm-hmm.
saw Grace
And the whole
and
Anne Frank
the
cast.
whole Infant cast,
Yeah.
and Grace came over to talk to me, and all of a sudden, here comes bounding this little 13-year-old
Scrawny.
Faith, and I hug Grace, and all of a sudden, here comes Faith, and gives me a big old hug. Never met her in my life. Um, that was fun. And then fast forward a couple years,
Like
year and
2
a half,
years
maybe,
later.
yeah, to last July of 2019, where you and I were both called back for Wizard of Oz. I didn't see you at auditions or the initial callbacks, but I saw you at the secondary callback, the dance callback,
Mm-hmm.
and
That was fun.
and it was a lot of fun. And we, excuse me, we chatted a little bit, and then we both got cast in Wizard of Oz, and then we spent the next 3 months together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We've pretty much been
Almost
chatting ever since. So we'll get to Anne Frank and Wizard of Oz in a little
later.
bit. I want to know about like what is your theater background? Tell us how you got started. How old were you? What was your first show? All of like the firsts that happened with you in theater.
So my oldest brother, Jonah, he was also a theater kid. He started theater when he was about 13 and did the show Godspell.
Ooh,
And
good show.
that's one of my favorite shows
It's a good
too.
show, yeah.
Yeah. And I went to go see him perform,
Mm-hmm.
and I was obsessed. I was very, very, very much obsessed. I enjoyed it, but I didn't know if I wanted to do it or not. I was only 6 then. And then they were doing the show Annie Jr. at the time for a 2-week summer camp. And I was obsessed with Annie at the time. I had books, everything from my mom passed down. And I decided to sign up for the summer camp. And when I did it, I was 6 still and got Molly. That was my first role.
Nice. That was your first role as Molly?
Yeah, and Annie.
At what age again?
I was 6 years old.
6
And
years old.
Yeah,
Wow.
I did it with Activate Drama with Miss Collie.
With Miss Collie. So
With Miss Collie.
we have to time out there. So it's always crazy. Theater is a small world, right?
Yeah.
You were in Rocky Mount at the time?
Yes.
And you did a show with Activate Drama with
with
Danelle Colley, who was my very first time I was in college in 2006, was my intro to acting teacher at UNC Asheville and my advisor.
Yes.
So it's such a small world. Like,
I know. I've met so many people here that have been her student.
Half a state away, you and me, the same person. All right, so you do Annie. Was that a summer project? What was that after
Annie
school?
Junior. It was
Annie Junior during the summer.
There were 2 separate programs. Well, there was a program and then there was a school. Faith Christian was a school, and then they had a separate summer program called Activate Drama that the drama teacher, Miss Collie, Danelle Collie, was in charge of, and she had just started it. That was probably her 3rd or 4th show that she had performed in Rocky Mount, and I just so happened to have been one of the kids doing the show, and it was so much fun.
I almost applied to work there after I graduated. I almost
really?
did. I didn't. Yeah, I didn't because I stayed.
That would have been so much fun.
Because I stayed around here after I graduated. But yeah, that's such a small world. It was really. We also have another connection, which will make like my sister excited and the people in Fayetteville excited. You and I have both worked with Dirk Lombard.
The one and only.
The one and only Dirk Lombard. What is your connection with Dirk?
So when I was in 5th grade, I went to a school called Northeast Carolina Prep. And he was the drama teacher there at the time. And he worked for the middle school and then did like some little things with the elementary schoolers. And they were looking for someone to do the middle school production. And my drama teacher, her name was Miss Lamb. She was putting skits together, and the skit that me and my friends did was like a talent show, and my act was to sing. And when I was singing, she's like, she can be the Artful Dodger. She can do that. And then
Yeah.
she introduced me to Dirk Lombard. And I remember this so clearly. He's like, okay, ready for the first rehearsal? He handed me my script. We were both under an umbrella, holding the umbrella and going side to side, like for the Wizard of Oz, but singing, "We're singing in the rain," all the way to the middle school building. And we were in this crowded room in a circle reading the show. So for the first time. And it was really fun. And then we performed at Edgecombe Community Theater.
Wait, so he was in it or he directed it?
He directed it, and he was Fagin, and I was the Artful Dodger.
You got to play his
Fagin, yeah.
You got to play Artful Dodger to his Fagin?
I did.
Oh,
I was
so
on his
amazing.
shoulders and everything.
I knew you'd been directed by him, but I didn't realize that he was also in the show with you.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm really jealous. Yeah, so I have met Dirk a couple times. He's done a number of shows at Cape Fear Regional Theater in Fayetteville.
Mm-hmm.
I met him when I almost took his arm off with a curtain. It was the first time.
I'm gonna tell him that was you.
Oh, hopefully he listens, and he understands. But he was Harold Hill in Music Man.
Mm-hmm.
In Fayetteville. This was probably 2008. Early 2000s. My sister was a stage manager, and they were doing a school performance, and they needed somebody to do the fly rail. And I had never done fly rail before, but I knew how to do it, but I never did one for the show. And it was a curtain call, and they were waving, and I was bringing down the thing, and his arm was still there. And he took it out before it got a chance. But the stage manager was yelling at me in the headset, not yelling at me, but asking me to stop in a very loud manner before I took out his arm. So yeah, that's cool. That's I would love to do another show with Dirk. So yeah, let's all do a show together. Dirk,
that would be fun. That would be fun. He was gonna try to come and see The Wizard of Oz, and before he was gonna try and come see Anne Frank, but he was unable to.
He's a busy man.
He's a busy man. Because there was a possibility of him moving here, but that didn't quite work out.
Yeah. So let's just go straight into Anne Frank. It was a beautiful show. It's a beautiful cast. The lighting, the set was amazing. It was done in a way that it was like the exact dimensions of the actual attic is what I hear.
Yes. And we didn't leave intermission.
Yes. Okay. So the director was Adam Cohen.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And Jack Lindsay is the set designer. That's the person who's going through my head. It was Jack Lindsay's last set design, from what I remember.
Yeah, I remember.
And he is an amazing person. Have you ever met him? Have you ever met Jack?
I have. We were really close.
He's one of the sweetest people in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But he, that was his last design that I know of, and he just did an amazing job. His model is still in the green room, and I often pull it down to show people because it's just an amazing model. But yeah, one of my favorite parts of the whole show was the fact that you all didn't leave during intermission.
It makes it obviously more realistic, but definitely mentally we were there as well for the show. So they tried their best to make us feel like we were actually there. Yeah,
and it took me a while to realize that you all hadn't left. Like, intermission, especially during Friends and Family, a lot of people who are there. And so, like, you just get up, and I was like, man, the lights are blue. Like, why are they just blue on the stage? And then I was like, wait, there are people on the stage. And then I was like, I was so brilliant because they weren't allowed to leave the attic ever. So, of course, they're not going to be.
It was so hard during school productions. So hard.
What? Because they would try and talk to you?
Mm-hmm, all the time. Yeah. And we'd have to get dressed on stage. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that was
But it
So
was still fun.
was that part of the, you staying on during intermission? Was that something that Adam told you all like first day of rehearsal, y'all are never leaving the stage? Or is that something that
Yes.
like came, okay, so he had that. Yeah, I want to talk to him one day on this podcast to just talk about Anne Frank and everything that he's done.
He enjoyed it. He very, very much enjoyed it.
Yeah. So
We were all a family.
oh,
All,
absolutely.
we
Right.
still are. We still
Yeah.
keep in contact.
So what made you want to audition to do that role? Well,
Okay.
first of all, did you audition for Anne Frank, for Anne, or did you just audition for the show?
I auditioned. Well, I showed up at auditions, obviously, because I got the role.
Yeah.
But yes, I was going for Anne Frank.
Okay.
That was my ideal plan.
And why? Yeah, why did you want to be Anne?
Well, obviously she's just someone I've seen the show before. I've seen it performed before, and sorry, I got a notification. Anyway, I was really, really inspired just by how optimistic she is,
Right.
and I enjoy putting myself in other character shoes. And oh my gosh, my phone is blowing up. Anyway.
You're so popular, Faith.
No.
Popular.
You're gonna be popular.
All right, don't sing anymore. We, copyright infringement and all that stuff. So what was it like playing a true historical figure? You're not just playing a character like you do in all the other shows. You're playing somebody who lived, especially this super important person. Like, what was it?
I would have to take time before the show to get into that state of mind. And another reason why I wanted to play Anne was to get that message across, because she was not only was she very straightforward with it, but it was a good message. She could really get that message across. And it was helpful to girls her age at that time to not be so, I don't know, disciplined by who they are, find growing up into a woman as a beautiful thing and something to cherish, because it's only, something you can experience for yourself. And I don't know, it was very inspirational, and I felt like I really connected with her through each diary entry. I feel like we have a lot in common, definitely.
Right. What kind of research did you do going either into rehearsals? Of course, at Asheville Community Theater, for people who don't know, most of the time you have a week or like 3 days between when your cast and when your first rehearsal is. But so maybe not so much before starting rehearsals. But what kind of research did you do on the time of when the family was living in the attic, or about Anne herself? And did you read the diary? Did you ever read the diary?
We were supposed to read the diary, but ended up not with the class that I was in. We read a different story called Yellow Fever. But I looked up articles. I looked up all sorts of things. We mainly looked at the things with what were going on at the time, like certain events that were taking place in the show that were mentioned. So the bombings from Hitler, the announcements, like specific announcements that were put on a broadcast throughout the show. Yeah, just things like that. We just looked at certain announcements mainly, and we looked at the Hanukkah prayer. I had to learn how to speak French, like do a little bit of French, which luckily Grace helped me with. So we were definitely like sisters throughout the show with that too. She helped me with a lot. I had to learn how to waltz. Just in general, I had to learn how to put myself into that character's shoes. But yes, I read a lot of articles about what she was inspired by, what brought her joy, what triggered her differently than what would trigger other people, how she dealt with the situation, what little quirks she had, stuff like that. Why she liked Peter, why she, her relationship with her parents and with each character in the show. Yeah.
Very cool. And so I've worked with Adam before in as a stage manager and a designer. So I've been in these meetings with him, and he just thinks so deeply about everything, which is great. What were those rehearsals like with him? What kind of conversations did you have with him?
So there would just be
throughout?
rehearsals with just us.
Just you
In
and
the
Adam?
beginning, how you could hear my voice and I wasn't on stage, and then we'd come up the stairs as the show began. That was our first rehearsal. We started with recordings of my voice, and it took several tries. He just wanted to get the message across, like have the right tone, helped me just understand each pause, like when to pause and when to carry on to a new statement, stuff like that. And then there were other rehearsals after that where it was just very personal and one-on-one, with him and the stage manager in there. We just talked about why you're saying the things you are saying, why she's feeling the way she is feeling, just to really help me get myself into the character shoes, which it wasn't hard to do that, but I think it was more hard to come out of it rather than get into it, because I'm really into stuff like that in that time.
So what's something fun from behind the scenes, either a rehearsal or during a show, or just something that you could share? Nothing too crazy, just something that will make you remember this, in 20 years when you're thinking back. Oh, I remember Anne Frank. Like, what is?
We had a Frank family get-togethers. That's what we called them, the Frank family get-togethers. Even the people that were in the annex, they were still a part of the Frank family, even if they weren't,
like blood relatives.
Yeah, blood relatives. Grace, the first time we got together outside of rehearsals was Grace made this Frank family dinner, and we all went to her apartment, and she set up this little table, and all of us like shared a seat and just squished together and just ate food and talked about, we played board games, and just got to know each other. We wanted to make, because Adam mentioned to us we should try and hang out outside of the rehearsals and the show to just have a bond in general. And it worked. It very much worked.
Yeah, it really came across like on the stage. It was very obvious that everybody cared for everybody else on that stage.
Tom was definitely like, Tom and Samantha were definitely like father figures. Every single person in the show, I saw them as who they are in the show, know? Who they
plus Samantha is just like everybody's mom.
Oh, yeah.
Samantha's in Little Women right now.
She's
playing Marmee. So well, we're still doing it in just not on stage.
Okay.
There'll be more details about that once we kind of get them together, but it is a project that is still ongoing. It's just not going to be put on the way that it was intended to. But yeah, I love Samantha as Marmee. When we put out that she was going to be Marmee, like Ezra and Karina were like, yes, we love her, that she's perfect for that role. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I'm glad that we picked somebody that people like. And then she showed up to like the first rehearsal that she came to, and it was like, oh yeah, she's definitely Marmee. Yeah. Like you could definitely tell like she's the mom. Just going back to Grace, like Grace is such a powerhouse. She's such a good actress.
I love her.
Even better person.
There were so many moments backstage where where I had to just let loose after certain scenes that were just a lot to handle, because even in rehearsals you have to put your all. You have to, especially for that show.
How long were you off stage for that show?
Not even not even 3 minutes, like under 3 minutes. We were on stage the entire time.
Right. Yeah.
All the
It
time.
was it was just nuts. You want to know my favorite part of the show? My favorite part, other than the intermission. Like I always say, that's my favorite part, and people are like, "John, it's just intermission." Like it's my favorite part because it's a very Adam thing to do.
Yeah.
It's a very like. Wait. Before I keep going, what's on your mug?
Nothing. I'm gonna
Nothing's on
paint
your.
it soon.
I have.
What do you recommend I paint on
I
here?
have a panda mug. I don't. I feel like I want to be selfish and be like, you should paint like me on there, but no, whatever. We'll figure that out at a different time. I have a panda mug that was given to me by one of my best friends, Peyton, when she went to New York City. What is in your mug?
Water.
I have citrus green tea with honey. That was at one point warm. It
That's
is
the
no
only
longer
tea
warm.
I like.
It's good. Okay, so going back to Anne Frank. Yeah, so I feel like the intermission thing was a very Adam thing to do. Like he, of course, he thought about doing that. But probably my favorite part of the whole show, which
Yeah.
is like a little weird because it's also the saddest part of the whole show,
Yeah.
but is the part with the shoes at the end where, and for people who didn't see it, I'm sorry you didn't see it, so you have no idea what we're talking about right now. But at the end, there was just, the whole stage was dark except for this one very, very stark white light that was a square. And all of you put your shoes
Yeah.
into it, symbolizing that, you're all dead. And it's such, like, I'm getting goosebumps right now.
Me too.
It was such an amazing, amazing part because it was dead quiet in the theater. Nothing to your senses except for that light. And it's
I'm
just,
just gonna go ahead and say I don't know how many times I almost fell down those stairs. There was one
probably a
performance
lot,
where
yeah.
I did in those
Yeah.
heels because that was the first time I'd worn heels ever. And it took me a while to learn how to walk in them. And then there's the Wizard of Oz where I'm like skipping. And
Yeah. No,
but,
it was such a beautiful show. I wish ACT could do it again.
I remember setting down the shoes, and then it got to the point where once my head was gone, in the pit, I'd run. I have to bolt, all the way up to the top
for the curtain call.
And take my socks off and everything, and then we'd go and bow. And I just remember, it's like you have to get out, stuff like that. So
that's a long run.
Crying. Huh?
That's a long.
It was a very long run. It was a very long run.
Yeah, the run from, if you ever have a pit on the stage at ACT, to get on stage is a long run.
It was all dependent on me. On how long it took for that blackout,
Yeah.
So Tom just made it very sentimental at the end where,
Yeah. Oh, it was such a good part.
Definitely my favorite show.
Yeah. So we're going to move on to the show we did together. So the show, for those of you who don't know, who are just listening in, we did Wizard of Oz in October of 2019.
You missed out if you didn't see it.
Yeah, you did. You missed out on a fantastic show.
You did.
I have had, so the first episode of Stand By Go was with Dylan, who played the Scarecrow. The second episode was with Emily, who played one of the trees. The third episode is with you, and you played Dorothy. I didn't say that faithfully. And I played the Cowardly Lion. And then my next episode, or maybe one of the next few episodes, or maybe, who knows, maybe the past episode, was with Mark, who played the Tin Man. So we will have all four of us having done a podcast for Stand By Go.
I'm very excited.
So you and I, we did Wizard of Oz. I'm asking you a very similar question to the last one. What was it like playing such an iconic role?
It was.
You have Dorothy. Everybody knows Dorothy. Everybody knows Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Everybody knows Judy Garland. Like, what was there pressure on you to play this character?
I definitely knew going into it. There was Anne Frank was mentally hard, but this was definitely going to be physically hard, like, and mentally. But I had I just I don't know. I'm trying to explain how different it was, compared to Anne Frank.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's a musical.
Yeah,
So there's singing and
it's a
dancing.
musical. There was
the mood of the show is very different.
very different. Yeah. I had to learn just how to be longing, but still young and carefree and stuff, and connect with the characters differently in each scene. And
but also playing in a movie that everybody has seen, like
it was
since
amazing.
1939, everybody's watched this movie.
It was amazing. It was definitely, I remember when Jerry called me, I was sitting in my brother's room because he was out of town for the summer. And I remember my mom's like, check your phone right now. He's calling. He just said he needs to, tell you something. So when I called, I said, hello, this is Fate. And he said, I think you mean this is Dorothy. Dorothy Gale. And then I just bursted out laughing and kind of, tearing up because I was so excited. My everyone had just came in town to see a show that I was recently doing at Parkway Playhouse, and I remember telling them all about it when they were there, and I just ran out into the kitchen and they were like, yay, and it was so much fun. I was thrilled, and I was trying to figure out how to get the script for a while, and then once we got to our first reading, I remember we were all sitting on the stage. I was really nervous because I knew it was a bigger cast. That's a big difference, just how much bigger this cast is. And I'm like, okay, I want to be a good role model. That was definitely my goal for most of it. But I just wanted to enjoy the most of it, and I definitely did.
Yeah.
It was a great time, and I wouldn't want to. There are no regrets at all.
I remember getting the call too. I was in my office, and it took everything in my power not to just like yell out, like, yes.
Oh yeah, it was so hard not to tell people, like, outside of my family.
Yeah, I mean, I told people in my office. I just didn't put it on social media.
No, yeah.
No, that part wasn't hard, but it was just really hard for me not to like yell out because I was still in my office at UNCA and I couldn't just be like screaming. I was like, I went to my coworker's office and I was like, I just got the role, and she's just like, yeah. She started freaking out, and I was like, who else can I tell?
Oh goodness.
I called Mama O'Neill, like, hey Mama, I got the role. She was super excited. She didn't even know I auditioned.
Me and my mom were freaking out. Everyone was freaking out.
And then I went and picked up the script like the next day.
I was wondering, I'm like, who's playing who though? I just want to know.
What I did was I
casted it in your head.
Well, I cast in my head, before I left, which everybody did. But like I texted Dylan. I was like, have you heard from Jerry? And he's like, yeah, I got the character. I was like, yeah, that's what I figured. And then I did the same thing with Mark. I'm pretty sure. I was like, did you get Tin Man? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, yeah. And I got Lion. And that was the second show the three of us had done together. So, So it was fun because it was like the three of us had been in a show together.
When we were doing callbacks.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember it was me, you, Mark, and Dylan. All of us were there for callbacks.
Yeah.
I remember linking arms with you and Mark.
Yes.
I don't think I did with Dylan.
Yeah.
But and they recorded us.
Yeah,
and it was so.
I was very sweaty.
I was.
I was very sweaty, which is not an abnormal thing for me to be doing. But no, I remember because we had to like walk across as like the different characters.
Yeah,
that was completely.
Like one of the first things you told me about yourself, you said, "Look at my tattoos." That was the first thing.
Yeah.
Wait, I mean, the bulldog.
Yeah, the bulldog. Well, I have a bulldog and a panda.
And a panda.
That I got at the same time.
Yeah.
They were tattoo 5 and 6, and I
Mm-hmm.
got them on opening night of Alice in Wonderland. They got them on opening night of Alice in Wonderland. I got the star, the one that says you are, or the sun, the one that says you are my sunshine, for my mom. I got that like while I was in rehearsals for another show.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I got my ghost lamp during Avenue Q, like the day of a show of Avenue Q. And so, but I was like, I'm not going to get a tattoo during Wizard of Oz because like that costume was too much. I couldn't have done tattoo of that costume, but I do want a Wizard of Oz costume because Wizard of Oz at ACT was the 4th time I've done that show.
Oh, right.
So it was the first show I ever did was Wizard of Oz. I was the
And
wizard.
before that, you played Tin Man.
Right. So it was Wizard. Then I did Backstage at Cape Regional. Then I did Tin Man, and now I've done Lion. And people are like, "Are you going to go the full? Are you going to be the Scarecrow?" And I'm like, "Absolutely not. I would be the Lion. I would be the Lion in a heartbeat."
This was a long show.
Mm-hmm.
Very long show.
I could have done it. I could have done it for another year.
Yeah,
like
no, me too.
4 shows a weekend for another year. I could have done it.
Me too.
Sign me up in a heartbeat.
It was so much fun. I never wanted it to end.
Oh yeah,
and I still don't.
No,
I wish I could go back. There are lots of shows though. I wish I could go back to.
Yeah, and the Wizard of Oz is just like it was finally me. It was the first time I checked off a bucket list role.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's always been there on my list. It's always been on that list of like, oh, what do you want to do? And then like when people are like, oh, I can see you as this role, I'd be like, what about Cowardly Lion? And they'd be freaking out. I'd be like, yes, I see you as a Cowardly Lion. Because I've always loved the Lion. I've always loved the Lion since when I was little.
My face on the last performance like this.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah. When I just held your face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were both tearing up. And
yeah. So what are some of your favorite stories from the show, like from the run of the show?
Probably I'm gonna go with the Munchkins.
I love those Munchkins are great.
I know.
Some of my favorite times was just hanging out with the Munchkins.
They were all so sweet. I was their biggest fans. Yeah, definitely. No, everyone loved them. Yeah. But I remember during rehearsal.
Yeah, you were there. Yes, I was just making sure you said that right. Yeah, you're the biggest fans. You're the biggest fans of them. Yes, gotcha.
Yes. And I remember during rehearsal they would make a bracelet, like each one of them would like make a bracelet and then give it to me, and just try to whisper to me like in the audience and tell me some weird joke that made no sense whatsoever. Leah. And I have my box.
You have your box
with all of the gifts that they gave me.
Yeah, so go ahead and get your box while I talk about this to other people. You can go ahead. So for those of you who don't get to see this, and if you're listening to this on Spotify or Anchor or any other podcast area, please also check us out on YouTube. Check out my YouTube channel. If you just look up John O'Neill spelled O''Neil, you will see my headshot, and you will be able to see this on YouTube, hopefully. But if you're just listening, one of the Munchkins, Eleanor, made these little rubber band figurine characters, and this is my lion, and then I'm pretty sure I know the Scarecrow got one. I'm pretty sure Tin Man got one, and then this was given to me by Reagan. It's a little lion. Reagan went to the dentist or orthodontist, one of the two, and they were like, you get to pick out a prize, and the prize that she picked out was this lion for me, and she brought it. She is super adorable. And then we did.
I remember Zay.
Yeah.
During the show, this is another memory. During the show, whenever he'd have to grab my hand, he would he gets so close to the pit, and I'd have to carry him over.
Yeah,
uh,
we made it to the end of that show with nobody going into that pit, which is the miracle of its own.
exactly.
There's a big 4 by 2
Like I
foot
love
pit in the
everyone
middle of the
else, but
stage.
the Munchkins I was most
Yeah,
worried about. And I remember the shoes. So here are the
yeah,
slippers.
yeah,
I
yeah.
remember finding sparkles all
Uh,
over the stage and you guys pointing it out to me, picking on me,
yeah,
and trying to get me stirred up. I
yeah.
remember you guys would try to get me stirred up all the
I
time.
don't know what you're talking about. We
What?
never did anything,
Never.
especially me or
Oh my
Dylan.
gosh.
We would never
No.
do anything like
No, no.
that.
And I totally not during intermission. We'd pick on Jared and
Oh yeah, yeah.
remember me like going back and forth. Wait, what was it?
Dur-
I just like bump you.
Yeah, well, no. So what was funny was Jared, who played our Emerald City Gate Guard, whatever his name is, who's also the real life little brother of Dylan, who played our Scarecrow. And so, as we knock on the door and the little thing opens, he sticks his head out. And so a lot of times when we were at places, he would open it and we would be there and scare him. And so it happened at least 4 times. And then there was this one night, I don't know if you knew this. I actually went behind him and came up from behind and
Oh,
scared him.
he's so
Yes.
much fun to pick on.
Oh, absolutely.
So much, and he's okay with it. That's what makes it so great,
Yeah. So I have so many stories. I mean, we could talk about another 45 minutes about the show.
We can make a part 2.
Oh, we can make part 2.
So there's a chance.
There's a chance. But I mean, there's so many great stories about that show. One of my favorite things, one of my every show routine was, we would do I've always been and I'm still very notorious for not getting into costume until very late in the process. Even though I was typically the first person. I was the first person in the theater and one of the last people to be in costume. I wouldn't start getting dressed until 15 minutes till places. And so I would do a mic check in my zip up jacket, blue zip up jacket over the mic, do my mic check, and then we'd go down to the pit, wave to the pit, and then go to the Munchkin area where we sequestered the Munchkins and would just hang out with them for 5 to 10 minutes. That was a lot of fun. There was a lot of hugs, a lot of high fives. They were playing.
I remember before bows, we do our
handshake and hug every day. Yep, before every show, and then before every.
Dude, I don't remember the handshake.
Oh, you don't remember the handshake?
Is it? Dun, dun, dun. Oh.
Yeah, I have video of it.
Okay.
I saw a video of it.
Good.
So yeah, I don't remember the handshake. And then the quick changes.
Really what?
And then the quick changes were probably my favorite. The 2 at the end of the show were a lot of fun. So going on to my next question is, what did you learn from that show? Like, what was one of the biggest things you learned from doing that show?
Well, I've always known to be patient, always, like during rehearsals and stuff. But that's definitely a key thing that like I knew to do that, but it was just shown a lot there. And it was probably one of the most professional shows I've had to do with a big group of people. And like I've done other main stage shows. Like the first big main stage show I did was Mary Poppins, and I played Jane Banks, and that was definitely the biggest show I've done, but I didn't really remember it. But this time I was like ready, like I want to know what to do, and just how to involve yourself in each scene, and how to communicate and take notes for blocking and just what to do at home to prepare yourself for the next rehearsal.
Because,
but
oh, go ahead.
what? Okay, but for just the show in general, the Wizard of Oz. It just brought so much joy, and the message, I guess don't get too lost in your thoughts, and make sure to, I don't know, just I'm struggling so much.
It's okay. So what did you do? So I mentioned earlier, typically you have 3 days between knowing when you're cast and your first rehearsal, but because of where the show fell, we knew we were cast 3 weeks before our first rehearsal. What did you do in those 3 weeks to get ready for the show? I know you didn't get the script because you didn't know that you can just ask the stage manager to pick it
No,
up.
I didn't
I
at
did because
all.
I'd worked with that stage manager before. So,
And
and I
Garen,
also,
everybody.
and Garen, everybody. And I just walked to the theater. I was like, can I have the script? And so that much I knew, but like, what did you do to prepare yourself to be Dorothy Gale
Goodness,
for
I
those
need
3
to
weeks?
remember in general. Okay. Well, I had just finished a show at that time. I had like one more performance. So I was still working on that some.
What
But
show
I
was that?
learned huh?
What show was that?
If I was doing Alice in Wonderland Junior at Parkway Playhouse. It was a 2-week camp just to help out with.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned uh the entire song of Somewhere Over the Rainbow. I just well, wait, we knew the cast list, but then we had 3 weeks, correct?
Yeah, we knew 3 weeks before the first rehearsal.
Okay.
But it didn't get posted until like a couple of days. Like we found out like on a Wednesday, Thursday, but it didn't get posted till like Friday, Saturday.
Yeah. Well, obviously I got myself mentally prepared for that and for school. I was very much preparing for school before the show. And if I had my script,
You
that's like
probably
the
would have been
main
able to
thing
do
I
it.
would say. But
Yeah, I memorized the show
yeah, oh
in the
yeah.
3 weeks.
It would
I
have
could
helped
have
out.
I could have done the first couple rehearsals off book. I decided not to because I didn't want to look like that guy. But
You are that guy.
I am that guy,
You are
100%.
that guy.
I would prefer getting a script and then coming in off book, um, and then just learning from. I've never done it, but I think I would enjoy doing it. But I didn't want to be the only person and being like, and people being like, "Oh, that guy." Okay,
Nah. Oh,
okay.
okay.
Um, so this kind of goes with my last question, but definitely goes with one that we talked about earlier. What what is something that you're going to remember about Wizard of Oz 20 years down the road? Or like,
Uh,
one day when you have kids, when you have kids and they're like, what tell me about when you were little? And you're like, I was Dorothy at Asheville Community Theater in Asheville, North Carolina. This is what I
um,
remember about it.
just, uh, just the little sparks after each performance, like when the audience is standing up clapping and you're breathing so hard and you're like, oh, it just paid off. And at the end of the show,
Mm.
obviously when we're all running out, and I remember holding everyone's hand and then bowing and everything. And I remember after Jitterbug, me and Dylan were just going like this backstage, still dancing with the ghosts, and
Yeah.
I remember all of you guys picking on me and just joking around. It was so much fun.
See. Here's the thing. It doesn't sound like me. Like people who
Oh
know me,
no!
does that sound like I would pick on somebody?
Oh no! No! No!
Um,
You're so.
that's not like me at all. No,
But
I'm gonna remember. There's so many things I'm gonna remember about this show. I'm gonna remember. It's probably my favorite part of the whole show. Right underneath doing If I Were King. If I Were King is probably still gonna be one of my favorite things I've ever done in theater. Every night, especially the way we got to end it, me holding that axe up and then you're on my arm and everybody's like, and then just like
yeah,
hearing the roar of the crowd after, like, that's amazing.
yeah.
But my favorite part of the show was when little Isla, the youngest person in the entire cast, during the jitterbug, the three of you have been taken off by ghosts, and I'm getting cocky. I'm like, oh, I can do it. Put him up, right?
Yeah, right,
And then
right.
all of a sudden, I turn around and there's little Isla. She goes, boo, and then she chases me, and it got a laugh every single night. Every
Oh.
night it got a laugh.
Well,
Sometimes it got
she
cheers.
deserves it. She so deserves
She's so
it.
amazing. I'm gonna remember that. I'm gonna remember the fact that like every day, every show, when Reagan and Leah came in, they found me and hugged me before they signed in and went and got new costume.
I remember, oh goodness, another thing I'll remember is dyeing my hair. That was a huge thing, going
Yeah,
from whatever color it was,
yeah,
short to orange and then
yeah,
red, and then like it
yeah,
changed throughout. It was like a process, but it was it's still
yeah.
it's still
Still a little
there.
red. Yeah,
um Still great being a ginger.
yeah,
It was I remember seeing everyone's face, and my cheeks looked the color of my hair.
yeah.
And it was just so much, such fun. It was so hard.
Yeah, and
What
then one last thing I remember before we move on, I'm gonna remember is
Somewhere over the
they
rainbow
had
was good.
the Tanglewood reunion, like 50, 60 years, however,
Oh,
right? And there were
yeah.
three generations of Cowardly Lions there.
Hmm.
I was there, of course. Frank Salvo was there, who did it the last time. And then there's another guy, I want to say his name was John too, and he did it in like 1964 in the 60s sometime. And it was like all three of us were there at the same time. We got to take a picture, and it was really cool. And then and at that same time, it was like um, Mark's uncle, who had also played the Tin Man at ACT. And so there's a picture of me and that Cowardly Lion with Mark and his uncle, who also played the Tin Man that same year.
Hmm.
So yeah, that was a lot of fun. So we can always come back to doing like a part 2 of this podcast with
Yeah,
Wizard of
yeah, yeah.
Oz. But I do want to move on. I have a couple more things I want to talk about. One of them is, what do you want to do in the future with theater and your acting? Either whether it's short term, as short term as we can get with this quarantine going on, or long term.
Um, I'm definitely reaching, or my goal is long term. I want to manage in theater. That's like my number one goal. Um, that's the first thing I'm going to strive for. And if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. But right now, that's what I feel my calling is. I enjoy it. It's I've been doing it for like 9 years now, and I do not want to stop.
Right.
It brings so much joy. I just love putting myself in other characters' shoes and like creating your own characters and bringing words and just costumes and all this stuff, bringing it together and making it come to life,
Right.
and just seeing people happy, that brings me happiness, and I definitely do not want to stop. It's so nice to put so much effort in, and it seems like in the middle of it, it's like I'm going to explode, but once it's like all put together, it's amazing. And that was definitely one of these shows, like those kind of shows.
Right.
School was a pain.
Yeah, I remember
Sophomore year.
you were struggling,
Yeah, no, yeah.
and you got
Like
sick,
right after, if I
and you
had
were
the
sick for like
chance.
2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Oh goodness. That was terrifying. That was a terrifying moment. But if whenever I had the chance, I'd be sitting out on my Chromebook, doing work, and then I'd come back and then go and finish work. And then I'm in a relationship, stuff like that, family, just trying to
Driving an
balance
hour or
everything
two
out.
in from rehearsal every
Oh
night.
yeah, from Burnsville. Thank you, Mom, if you see this, thank you. And parents and directors, everyone from the show. Um, yeah, it was a great experience, and definitely one of the most most proudest things I've ever been at. How do I say that? I didn't
One of the
say
things
that
you're
right.
most proud of. You're most proud
Yeah,
of.
definitely something I'm most proud of, and a project that was worth working
Yeah.
for.
So going off a little bit of what you were talking about, I think every actor, stage manager, director, um, of every show ever to to be produced, there's a part within the rehearsal process where you just sit back and you're like, how is this going to happen, or why on earth do I do this? Blah.
Mm-hmm.
What is your thing that keeps you moving forward? Is it a thought? Is it a phrase? Is it a picture? Is it a thing that you have? What is that for you that makes you want to
Well,
keep going?
once I start striving for something, I don't I don't really stop.
Mm,
That's always, once something is on my mind, it will not leave my mind if I'm so dedicated to it. Obviously it was the entire cast. If I was so devoted to you guys and to that show and that opportunity that I just did not want to let go of. Yes, I got sick, but that entire time I'm like bawling my eyes out, trying to get better, keep pushing through,
yeah.
trying to contact everybody, saying like, how's rehearsal going and stuff. And because like it's like a family, it's an ensemble, like we
Mm,
put all of this together, and you don't want to accidentally ruin that opportunity for someone else as well,
mm,
because it's you have to give all. If one person doesn't give their all, and then it's just, it's not going to
yeah.
work out.
Especially if that one person is Dorothy.
My
No, no,
bad.
no. I get it.
I just
So my thing is always, it doesn't necessarily happen so much when I act. Although I guess it does. I usually have like one or a couple of rehearsals that are just bad, and I just like feel horrible. But
yeah.
especially when I'm stage managing, and it's typically during tech week, I will have these moments where I'm just like, why do I continue to do this? And if it looks like I'm looking at my phone, I 100% am, because I'm trying to
Looking
pull.
at it, I mean, I've done it too.
No, I'm
Trust
trying to
me.
pull up. I'm trying to pull up the picture. Uh, there's a picture that I have that is my phone background. It is also my background on my computer monitors at work. It is not on my laptop. My laptop background says "keep calm" or "I'm already calm" because I'm the stage manager. But there's this picture from when I was the Tin Man that was taken. So they typically in the spring will do a kids show, where a fundraiser they have for it is like a brunch with the characters, and so they had a brunch with the four friends of Oz,
Hmm.
which would have been a really cool thing if we got to do. But and so people would like buy a place at the brunch table, and so they had it like one group would come in and do it, and then they would leave, and the second group would come in. Well, the second group comes in, the door opens. This is like Airbnb, and this is in this little town called Dunn, North Carolina, which is about halfway between Fayetteville and Raleigh. And all any of us hear, is we hear the door open, and this little voice goes, "Where's the Tin Man?" And it's this little girl who's not part of our show. I learned later on that she came the night before with her grandmother
Yeah.
to see the show, and all she could talk about was the Tin Man, which of course made me feel great.
So it just like gives you that opportunity. It's like just bringing that happiness,
Yeah, and her grandma was like, she didn't want to talk to Dorothy. She didn't care about the lion. All she cared about was the Tin Man. And so I went up to her and I kneeled down next to her for like 5 or 6 minutes, which is forever. Talking to a little one.
Hmm.
Oh, there. I found it, by the way. And she had this little dress on. It was like this like yellow like gingham dress, and the collar had all of our characters on it. It had a little Dorothy, a little lion, scarecrow, little Toto. Blah. We talked about that, and then she was like, her grandmother was like, "All right, it's time to go." She's like, "Okay," and so she like walks away. But before she does, she gives me a hug, and unbeknownst to me, somebody took a picture of the hug. And when I got this picture, I bawled like a baby because it was the day I realized that theater was what I wanted to go into for a profession. Whether it was acting, whether it was something else, at that point I didn't know. I just knew I had to do it. And this is the picture. Most people know this story, and it's on my blog and stuff. But this is the picture of me as the Tin Man and the little girl hugging, and it's
red bow.
Big red bow. And it just reminds me that, like, you know, it's play, it's entertainment. It lets people know that not everything's bad. People can come and just get lost for 2.5 hours, and especially in Wizard of Oz, in a story that that everybody knows. And like I one time, and I can't remember which production it was, but I had this older lady come up to me one time, and she's like, "I was alive when this came out in the movie theaters for the first time, and you just took me back to being that little girl." And it's just like, there's just nothing like getting that type of, making people feel that good.
That kind of inspiration.
Yeah. And so that's kind of what gets me through. Like, why do I do this? That little girl is the reason why I do this.
Yeah. It's always the end result of things where it's like, all you can do is give it your best. And I try to, look on the bright side of things. Obviously, that's really hard to do.
Look on the bright side of life. That would be a fun show to do. You know what show that's from, right? You know what show that's from, right?
What?
You know what show that's from, right? Spam-A-Lot.
I knew the song, but I didn't know which show it was from. Okay. I'm so bad with.
It's okay. All right, so we're gonna move on to our next part, which is our second to last part.
I completely. Okay.
So these are called quick hit questions. All right, so I'm gonna ask them to you. Don't think about them. Just give me whatever. Okay. What's the favorite role you've ever played?
Anne Frank or Dorothy?
No, one. You can only give me one.
Anne Frank.
Okay. It doesn't hurt my feelings. That's okay. Favorite Broadway show? Whether you've seen it or not. Just your favorite Broadway show.
Phantom of the Opera.
Phantom. I saw that in November.
I did too.
In New York.
Well, not in New York. I just
dream role. What is your dream role?
Lydia in Beetlejuice.
Ooh, I've never listened to that soundtrack. I need to listen to that soundtrack.
It is.
I know.
Dead Mom, so good.
What is the best advice you'd ever been given about theater?
Have one goal and stick with it. Definitely, that's something that you told me. Obviously, it's like when it comes to theater, you have to give it your all. You have to devote your all to it. It's like one branch. There's no like twigs or like little limbs going out that you can go off to. Like but you just have to stick to it, and to give your all if you really want it. Yep.
Who is your favorite actor or actress?
Lilla Crawford or Haley. I forgot her last name. She played T Moon on Broadway. Full version.
Who is your theatrical celebrity crush?
Oh no.
I'll give you mine after you give yours. Although everybody knows mine. Anybody who knows me knows who my theatrical celebrity crush is.
Oh, goodness. Michael Campion or Luca Powell?
Okay. Mine is Sutton Foster. Obviously. Obviously, Sutton Foster is my.
Probably, I'll say Michael Campion.
And who is your best theater friend?
Oh, dang. I have that's the hardest question. John, don't give me that look, John. John, don't give me that look now.
It's me.
Hey, John, I have a secret.
What?
I have a secret.
What?
Come closer. Closer.
That's about as far as.
It's you.
Yes, it's me.
That's
it. That's all the quick hit questions.
That's all?
Yeah. You want me to answer them? Favorite role I've played? Probably the Cowardly Lion, or so I made you do one. Probably Charlie Brown. Oh, I don't know. Charlie Brown. Okay, I'll let you have two, so you can say Anne Frank or Dorothy, because I will say it's a tie between Cowardly Lion and Charlie Brown.
Exactly, it's a tie between Anne Frank and Dorothy.
Favorite Broadway show is Ragtime. If you haven't listened to it, go listen to it. Dream role right now, probably right now is still between Shrek and
I forgot about Fiona
and the Beast.
I love to be Fiona.
Best advice I've ever been given about theater, probably the one that it's the advice I give everybody, but I don't give myself, which is audition for everything. My favorite actress is probably Brian Stokes Mitchell, who played Cole House Walker Jr.
Can I change my crush?
Who?
Ben Platt or Jeremy Jordan.
I'm surprised you didn't go Jeremy Jordan.
I know. I completely forgot. I was thinking of people my age. I meant sorry, Ben Platt. Definitely Ben Platt.
He has such a. He's also growing a great quarantine beard right now.
I know. His Saturday posts are what are keeping me sane right now.
All right. So we're going to go to the final question that I ask everybody.
Wait, whoa. You said it was over.
No, that was it for quick hit questions.
Oh, for quick hit. Okay.
Yeah. Then we're going to the last question that I ask everybody. And that is, why theater?
This is like the hardest question ever.
It is such a hard question. And
it's the hardest.
Yeah, and I gave you heads
ever.
up. I've never given anybody else heads up on it. But why theater?
Just the people you meet along the way. There are lots of reasons, so I'm going to get lots of reasons. The people you meet along the way that change your life for the better or shape you into who you want to be. Because of how much you put yourself into other characters' shoes, it gives you different perceptions of the world and ways of the ways of other people and how they can think, performing, obviously that's the best. The feeling you get after you perform, you're like, okay, wow, I did this. It's I cannot think of the right word.
It's a tough question, because this question is making people think down to their core on why they do what they do. And as of now, I've talked to people who I've done shows with, so I know pretty well, but eventually I'm going to be reaching out to people I don't know very well or whatnot, and some people who do this professionally 100% versus people who do this after school or after work or something like that. Obviously we still have passion for it, but it's still just a hobby, right? And so This question is so tough, especially when just thrown at you, because it's making you think down to the core of why you do what you do.
Definitely.
And the thing about this is you've answered it. We've talked about this on other questions. It's just
summing it up.
Yeah, and summing it up in one paragraph. And it's okay if you don't have the whole answer.
I'd also add on to it by just wait, what were you saying?
I just like making people sweat.
Well, you're doing doing a great job. You want to give me a hug?
I would love to, since it's been a month since I've given anybody a hug. And the last hug we
Bringing
had,
that back.
and the last hug we had was epic.
Epic.
Was when you came and saw Fantastics. Yeah, it was a great hug.
I have a picture.
Yeah.
I can't pull it up right now.
No,
but
it's
just definitely
so the people you
way,
meet,
just all the amount of joy. I think the answer, to sum it up, is the amount of joy it brings, and it's definitely the main thing that brings happiness into my life and keeps me. And also when I used to deal with ADHD when I was younger, and ADD. And I struggled in school and stuff, and I didn't know I had it until I was like in second grade. So I realized I was getting better throughout the years, and it kept me know how to, stay patient. And it's not as noticeable as it normally is. Now I'm just really happy, like a lot. But I'm able to contain myself, if needed, and I can focus. And it's just taught me to best benefit myself and who I want to be, and shaped me the way I want to be. There you go.
Very beautiful, very beautiful. And the thing that'll happen is, as soon as we're done, you're going to think of it, and so, but it's okay.
Exactly. I know.
Faith,
I'm happy though. I'm
Faith,
pleased.
thank you so much for being part of Stand By Go. Thank you for being willing to be the first guinea pig about doing this virtually, and hopefully this will make it up to YouTube, and hopefully the last hour or so of our conversation won't be for naught. If it doesn't get recorded, we'll just do this again, and it'll be a lot of fun then too. Who knows? We may come back with a part 2 with Faith. But for now, I am finishing up our interview, and thank you so much.
I want to thank you.
Thank you all so much.
I love
for
you,
listening.
and I miss you.
I miss you too. Thank you all for listening to Stand By Go. You can catch this on Spotify, Apple, Android, hopefully YouTube, and many other places that you can find podcasts. So until next time.
Stay cool, my dudes.